Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deadly Duo Chronicles podcast. On this segment, if you're watching YouTube, it is Jammies and Murder. I'm Cheyenne.
And I'm Heather.
And on today's murder menu is
Anthony Edward Sowell, aka the Cleveland, Ohio Strangler. But first, some trigger warnings: murder, SA, and drug addiction.
Viewer discretion is advised. Anthony Edward Sowell, born August 19th, 1959, on the east side of Cleveland, Ohio, to a single mother of 7 children named Claudia Gertrude Garrison, who she would end up gaining custody of her grandchildren after one of Anthony's sisters passes away from a chronic illness. There are several reports that show that the grandchildren was abused and the other children had to watch the abuse take place. They also the reports show rape was a factor, and Anthony himself also participated in raping his 10-year-old niece daily for 2 years. And then in 1978, Sowell turned 18 and joined the Marine Corps. While in the Marine Corps, he would be stationed in South Carolina and in North Carolina. He was being trained as an electrician. During his 7-year term, he actually spent some time overseas doing multiple posts and even received multiple medals and ribbons.
Fast forward to 1989. Anthony would hold a woman against her will, despite her being 3 months pregnant. That did not stop him from binding her and gagging her. Further details have not been released, but this woman managed to free herself and escape. Anthony would be convicted of rape and kidnapping and go on to spend time in prison. Anthony got released in 2005 from prison. In September of 2009, Anthony would invite Latrinda. Nope, I totally botched her name.
It's Latondra
Billups to his home for drinks and to hang out. Things took a turn for the worst.
She would later go on to report to police, and in her statement, she told police after a few drinks, Anthony, he became angry, started hitting her, choking her, until she passed out. At some point, she managed to get away, and on October 31st, Anthony was found, and the police would begin to search his home. And that's when they discovered the bodies, which 2 victims were found in a shallow grave in his basement. 3 more bodies was found on the 3rd floor in a crawl space in Sowell's home. 4 more sets of remains were found buried in his backyard, and the 11th body was found in a bucket in Sowell's home. The victims were strangled and showed what may have been signs of torture. All the remains were found gagged with multiple ligature marks, which at this point, I feel like certain detectives only done their job because it was in Ohio, and it hit media at that point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it didn't blow up, but it hit media at that point.
It was bigger than they expected it to be,
and had to get there 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Nothing against police. Not all police are bad, but some are very lazy.
Because I can honestly say, in this case, the cops totally shit the bed.
Oh yeah, they let the victims down, and had it not been for the previous victim who escaped and filed a report, he probably would have went on because he picked his victims so well.
Oh, yeah.
Ones that cops honestly wouldn't take 2 minutes to look into. All because of their sketchy
And almost
past.
every single one of them was moms.
Yeah, I think he had mommy issues.
I'm beginning to see, yeah.
A pattern.
Oh, yeah. He definitely had a type.
Mommy issues and...
Mid to late 30s.
All except one victim, yeah.
All besides one victim and moms.
But she was a mom, too. She just wasn't in her late 30s.
But, I mean, his mom was very shitty. Well, at least his grandmother.
But here's the thing, though. He probably participated in some of the abuse, and that's what caused him to go on, because the mom was the bully, and then he got bigger, and he discovered, hey, I'm going to be the bully, too. And it didn't help that he went into the Marine Corps, who specialize in certain tactics.
Right.
Well, certain tactics. Excuse me.
Him going into the military only fueled his ego.
Oh, yeah.
Because he could totally see what he could do. And it was just another way for him to learn how to kill.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the U.S. military train people to kill, but they train...
No.
They train their soldiers to do their job. It's just this guy took it and ran with it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy just took it and ran with it. But also, did they have mental evaluations back then?
You would think so. Just
I'm fairly certain they did. Because
they had mental evaluations, just not as thorough and strategic as ours is now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because there's no way that mofo made the freaking...
He definitely would not be able to pass a mental eval now.
No, definitely not. So we are actually going to be discussing the victims more in this episode and less focus on the dirtbag who claimed the lives of these women. So, Heather, would you like to take us off to the first victim?
Crystal Dozer. I'm saying her last name correctly, right?
I'm fairly certain, yeah.
Was a 38-year-old mother of 7. After the death of one of her children, Crystal turned to drugs. The 38-year-old went missing in May of 2007 due to Crystal previously going missing. Her family felt the police failed to take the investigation seriously. I agree 100%.
I think at this point, she went missing once. The police probably just assumed, hey, she turned up once, she'll turn up again. And in this case, they dropped the ball. She did turn up, but unfortunately, the victim of a nasty serial killer.
I mean, why would the cops... I don't understand why the cops chanced it, though.
I'm not nothing against drug addicts or anything, or anybody in recovery. Support y'all regardless. I think it's because of her past. I think it's because of her drug addiction that she didn't get the attention that she deserved.
Right.
She wasn't some suburb woman missing. This was just your average mom, addicted, took a wrong path, wrong turn, and the cops just kind of swept her under the rug. Unfortunately,
yeah,
the ball was definitely dropped because
numerous times.
Yeah,
as we get more and more into it,
the police definitely failed the victims in this.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, they could have been stretched really thin. They could have been overworked, undervalued, but at the same time, it could have took 20 minutes to look in and do a little bit of an investigation to at least show the family they tried. Because it appears that, to me, it doesn't appear like they tried.
But no matter the caseload, that is no excuse for crappy police work.
No.
Because even back then, they could have branched out.
Well, this isn't even that long ago. This is in 2007, so...
But they could have branched out and asked another county for help.
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
And they chose not to do that.
No. Because, once again, she was a drug addict, and they probably thought, hey, she went on a binge and is living in some crack house or, flop house and didn't think it was worth looking into. Once again, regardless, she's human. Of her past, they could have done better. And I actually support the police, but in this case, I can honestly say they failed miserably.
Yeah.
And it only become a thing because bodies were found. If they would have just found one body, they probably would have stopped investigating into that, honestly, after they found out her history.
And her body was actually one of the bodies that was found in Sowell's home in 2009. And then we go to the next victim. Her name is Tashana. Culver. She was just 33 years old, and she had struggled with drug addiction. She went missing in 2008, and on November 25th, 2009, her remains was identified as one of Anthony's victims.
Once again, kind of seeing a pattern. 30s, addicted to drugs. And I think in his thought process, they're addicted to drugs. Nobody's going to miss them.
Right.
Just because you're addicted to drugs doesn't mean you're not loved or missed. It's just sometimes families just get overwhelmed and decide they don't want to involve themselves in your personal life anymore. LaShonda Long, she was actually his youngest victim, reported anyway. She was only 24 years old and a mother of 3. But unfortunately, she also struggled with drugs and was last seen August of 2008. And unfortunately, only her skull was recovered at Sowell's home. The rest of her body was never found. Unfortunately. Michelle Mason was attempting to get her life straight when she went missing in October of 2008. Her disappearance was reported to the police, but because she had disappeared once prior, so the family felt that the police didn't take it serious, which they honestly probably didn't. Thought another crackhead, why waste valuable resources and time, which once again could have took one day of investigation to at least show they tried. Absolutely. But due to being a drug addict, they overlooked her.
And you'd think by this point, if the cops had one brain cell to rub together,
they would have linked the cases. That's my thing. How do you not link the cases? Yeah, I understand they were drug addicts, but how do you not link the cases? You're in literally a town. Yeah, it's not a very big town, but it's not a small town either, but you have a system. You could have linked these victims. Right there shows you a pattern of all these women prior that went missing to these women. Once again, due to lack of police investigation, Michelle Mason, unfortunately, was one of the bodies discovered at Sowell's home.
Kim Smith struggled with drug addiction, but despite the struggle of addiction, she helped her disabled father with his doctor's appointments and his cooking and cleaning. She was last seen by friends on January 29th, 2009, just before her 44th birthday. She was described as enjoyed to sing and loving life, but she was not reported missing until after bodies were discovered in Sowell's home.
Once again, with her being an addict, her family probably just thought she relapsed and
Right.
thought she would come home again. Unfortunately, she did come home again. It was just not the outcome they had hoped for.
His next victim was Nancy Cobb. She had a drug
spiral,
and she wasn't the best mom.
No, not at all.
But after serving time in prison, she was released and devoted her life to her grandchildren. And sometimes she became friends with Sowell, who lived in the same neighborhood. Nancy was 44 years old and disappeared in April of 2009. Her family filed a missing persons report. They searched abandoned buildings, even posted flyers, but then 6 months later, her body was found in Sowell's home.
So here's the thing. There actually is an article where Nancy Cobb's family was kind of talking and discussing. They knew Anthony and did not suspect him as that type of person. That's how well he blended in. But once again, you're taught how to train yourself. Not to mention you're a serial killer. So
well, I mean,
at this point,
and I mean, he can't really walk up to people and say, "Hey, I'm a murderer."
No, but it makes you wonder how he convinced all these women to come back to his house. Did he bribe them with drugs? Or did he bribe them with a warm place to sleep or a hot meal? Or
did he promise to help them stay clean? Because a lot of them was recovering.
Or trying to, anyway.
Or trying to. So did he initially say, "Hey, come back to my house. I will help you get clean, help you get reunited with your family"?
But here's the thing. Some of these women, too, probably had no hope because a lot of their family had given up on them. Because it's very hard to be an addict, and then it's very hard to watch somebody you love and care about go down this deep, dark path of destruction.
Right. Because when somebody gets going down that path, they're not the same person that you knew.
So, I mean, I'm sure at this point they didn't really have any friends, so they were vulnerable, so he preyed upon that. And then Kim Smith. She struggled with drug addiction, but despite her struggle, she kept... Oh, you already read that one. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all over the place. Okay. Amita Amy Hunter. She was a mother of 3, as well as a beautician. She had a real estate license. She actually disappeared in the spring of 2009. She was a 47-year-old, but unfortunately she shared a common pattern with the other victims. She struggled with drug addiction, but unfortunately she was not reported missing until police discovered the body in Sowell's home. And then you have Tanya Carmichael. She was described as full of life, loved her children, was a hard worker, but unfortunately, she became addicted to drugs after giving birth to baby number 3. Carmichael was 53 years old and vanished in the fall of 2009. And she would go on to be the first victim identified from Anthony's home. How do people not smell like the the decomposing bodies. Like, there is no wax warmer in the freaking world that can cover that smell.
No.
You would think neighbors would complain. And not to mention, like, they're in Ohio. Like, most of those neighbors are nosy.
Right.
Like, how do you not see a random guy in the backyard with a shovel digging randomly? Because he's not digging for gold and he's not making a garden. Like, how do you not see that? And I know, because I'm a nosy neighbor. Like, I'm a nosy neighbor. My neighbors are nosy neighbors. Like, they literally got everybody on a schedule.
I'm telling my neighbors know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, if we're out in the backyard and it's 10 p.m., they're hollering over the fence, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like, you can't get you, and you're in the middle of town. Like, how the hell can you get away with that?
I mean, one day our neighbor, he sadly passed away now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he was sitting outside, and he would always watch our apartment when when me and Kenny was gone.
Yeah.
And we allowed Timmy to come over.
Oh, yeah. I remember what you're talking about.
And sit outside in our driveway while we weren't home and use our Wi-Fi.
That's how you know you're poor, when you gotta borrow somebody's Wi-Fi.
And our neighbor looks at him and goes, "I don't know who you are. I've never seen you. You need to leave." And booted him out. And Timmy called us and was like, "Your neighbor just kicked me out of your driveway." Like, our neighbors are so in.
But it's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
It's like where we live, but like everybody's
but you would think seeing all these
nobody's
women
doing anything.
Right, but you would think seeing these women come and then not go. Like, where the hell did they go?
Yeah.
It's not like he built an underground tunnel and they magically escaped to fairyland. Oh. But it just, if you see something, say something. And if the police don't believe you, make them. I mean, now that's not saying go call 911 because your neighbor is in his backyard randomly digging holes. Well, just monitor the holes and what goes in them.
If it's a body-sized hole, it's time to be alarmed.
Well, some people cut body parts up.
Touche.
And if you have a dog and they're trying to dig something under the fence, I probably should be a little worried. See something, say something. Don't be like these Ohio neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Janice Webb was addicted and was an addict and battling her addiction. Janice disappeared on June 3rd, 2009. Her family waited a month to report her missing, and her body was discovered in Anthony's home.
Yes. Once again, pattern. Body, late 30s, early 40s, battling a drug addiction, mommy issues to its finest. Makes you kind of wonder if his mother wasn't an addict in a way.
Yeah.
Like, what if he was abused by his mother, and then when the grandchildren showed up, the abuse from him and his sisters and brothers or whatever stopped, and she focused on the grandchildren. So what if he wasn't trying to recreate that scenario where he was a young kid and couldn't fight back, and then he kind of started the pattern, older woman, I'm a bigger person now, I can rock your shit. That doesn't justify what he did,
that
but
makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't justify what he did or how he went about it. It just kind of makes you wonder how you go into all that.
His next victim was Te- Te- yeah,
Talika?
Talisa
Talisa? Yeah,
Talisa Fortson.
Yes.
She was a mother of 3, but lost custody because of her battle with drug addiction. In June of 2009, while she was trying to turn her life around, the 30-year-old sadly disappeared. Her adoptive mother reported her missing, and her body would be found in Sowell's home.
Let's talk about Diane Turner. She was a mother of 6. She also struggled with the drug addiction. She spent most of her life in and out of rehab. Despite the struggle, she actually remained clean and sober. But Anthony murdered the 38-year-old in September 2009, making her Sowell's final victim. Her remains was one of the last bodies identified. But once again, you would think if she was his last victim and he was caught fairly quickly, because I do believe he was caught in October, you would think she'd be one of the first bodies, unless she didn't have any fingerprints or anything on file. But still, maybe dental, they should have been able to link her, but they wasn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, you would have thought they could have linked her to identified her some way sooner.
You would think, but brain cells lacked in this matter.
On June 6, 2011, Anthony Sowell was charged with 11 counts of murder and 74 counts of rape, as well as tampering with evidence and abuse of a corpse. He entered a plea of not guilty by insanity, but then would go on to just enter a not guilty plea.
Yes.
Smartest move he could have done.
But the thing is, though, excuse me. The thing is, though, is technically he was freaking nuts. But because he was able to pick his victims and carefully think out his plans, he wasn't insane. He wasn't not guilty either, but, a guilty man will always be the first one to plead not guilty.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of hard for him to plead not guilty when the bodies were found in his home.
Yeah, but at that point, he plays the Casper defense. It wasn't me. It was Casper. It wasn't me. It was somebody else. It wasn't me. It was the neighbor Joe next door, It wasn't me. It was some random person. Even with a narcissistic douchebag like this, no matter what evidence you provided in front of him, he wasn't going to admit he was wrong.
Right.
Because in his eyes, he wasn't wrong.
They never are.
They really aren't. They're all pathetic crybabies in the end.
Douchebags.
Right, but they're really crybabies in the end because, they love the torture, they love the murder, they love to do this and that.
When it's being done to somebody else.
When it's being done to somebody else, but when push comes to shove and they get caught, they instantly, it wasn't me, I'm insane, I'm nuts, I'm crazy, I'm this, I'm that. No, you're not. If you can take the life or lives of other human beings, you're not crazy, you're not insane. You should not be allowed to use that defense at all.
Right.
You know what you're doing. When you took that person's life, you thought it out carefully. Sure, it could have been a spur of the moment thing, but at one point you thought about doing it and you acted on your urges.
And these were these murders, nobody can say that they were not premeditated.
Oh, no.
He thought these out so well.
He did, because 1, he picked drug addicts. 2, he only went for mothers. And 3, he only went for victims that nobody would miss.
Right.
And another thing to add, he picked easy victims because at this time, police, I wouldn't say it's so bad now, but at this time, police wouldn't give it a second thought. They're a crackhead, ain't our problem.
Right.
They're either in a rehab somewhere, living on the street in a cardboard box, or floating in a river somewhere. They just didn't want to put the time in at all. And that's what kind of infuriates me about this case, is because I back the blue. But in this particular moment, they dropped the ball.
It may seem like we're being harsh on the police in this case, but
it's obvious they didn't do their job. Whether it had been they were short-staffed, overwhelmed, cases this, cases that, or they didn't have a lot of leeway to go on. But they still could have at least tried.
Yeah, they could have definitely tried way harder.
At least, looked, did a foot canvas, kind of looked. Yeah, I understand drug addicts. They're unpredictable. They'll come, they'll go, they'll always turn up. But sometimes when they turn up, it's not breathing. And in this case, that's what happened to all of these victims. On July
22nd, upon the death penalty, or
on July 22nd, 2011.
On July 22nd, 2011, Anthony would be found guilty of all charges but 2.
Yes.
And the jury and judge agreed upon the death penalty. In September 2011, Sowell was placed on death row at Chillicothe Correctional Institution. The beginning of November 2015 to the beginning of April 2016. I hope his life in prison was a living hell.
It probably honestly wasn't.
Nah, he probably bitched up and got put in solitary.
Either that or protected custody. But here's the thing. He didn't really do anything to children, so a lot of the sickos on death row probably praised him for what he did. Or bought his stories. Hey, I'll give you a cigarette if you tell me what you did to the such and such.
Or when he went in, he probably just said, "I'm a murderer," and didn't say who he killed.
Probably. If it ain't, one thing it's another.
The beginning of November 15, in the beginning of November 2015, from April 2016. He put in an appeal with a whole new legal team. They claimed he did not have a fair trial. Aw, poor baby. This appeal was denied due to the nature of his crimes. And on February 8th, 2021, Sowell died of a terminal illness. Aw, he got a feezy. Sowell was convicted. Are you good?
You were on it today. Normally I'm the one. Oh my gosh. You were on it. Oh, wow.
Sowell was convicted of 11 murders, but suspected of a lot more because police begun looking into cold cases in the 80s that included the following women: Carmela Karen Prater, Prater, Mary Thomas, and Rosalind.
Mary Thomas Rosalind.
Mary Thomas Rosalind.
Here's the thing. It took them finding Anthony to look into those cases, and they still couldn't close it. There was similar patterns, but there wasn't enough evidence to close. As far as the new legal team and fair trial, I don't know what they really expected, because he legit was caught red-handed.
Right.
You were caught with the body parts.
There
was no escaping that.
Yeah, there was no denying it. Like, did somebody sneak in and put these bodies in your
Bro,
house?
I swear it's the Casper defense. It wasn't me. It was Casper, the friendly ghost, who wasn't so friendly.
I mean,
he beat these women. He strangled them. He
right.
sexually assaulted them. And he kept their bodies as trophies.
Yeah.
It's sickening. But at the same time, you want to play the poor me, boo-hoo, I deserve to be found innocent. Bro, there was no walking out of this one.
No.
There really wasn't. And even if you did, you would have screwed up and got caught indefinite, because men like you, or serial killers in general like you, can't stop. They crave the power of domination. You wanted... But regardless, despite the situation, there was just no way he was getting a new trial. He got a fair trial. He just didn't like the outcome of that. And my question is how the hell did he get a new legal team in prison?
Right.
Are there really lawyers out there that's that desperate that they're gonna take... Well, it probably didn't help he was an African American either. The legal team probably thought that as a opportunity for them to look good.
Yeah.
Another African American getting blamed for a crime he didn't commit, but bro, you committed it regardless.
Which I'm surprised. I can't go there. I will. I digress. Anyways,
I mean,
this case has me so infuriated.
yeah. It really does, because
he killed all these women and then has the balls to say, "Oh, poor me, I need a new trial." No.
Well, that's technically his constitutional right.
Yeah, he lost his constitutional right when he killed 11 females.
Yeah, technically I agree. I agree he did. But hear me out. Black man getting denied his constitutional rights. Do you see that going very well?
No.
So you can't deny a man their constitutional right, regardless of class, color, age, race, sexual orientation. I don't agree with it, because he murdered 11 women and assaulted plenty more.
That's my thing. I don't care age, race, anything. If you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. And
well, he's a piece of shit with mommy issues. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a piece of shit with mommy issues.
Definitely.
But also, the father was absent. But I also don't think that really mattered in the role, to be quite frankly honest. I mean, there's studies that say that absent fathers, blah, blah, blah.
There are so many people who do not have their dads in their lives, and they do not become murderers.
Or rapists.
Or rapists.
Or
I mean,
have a body collection. Well, I mean, okay, I take that back. Have a murderous body collection.
Right.
The other body collection, I'm sure they have plenty of.
They don't have a body collection. They have a body count.
I mean, that's still a collection. To them, it's probably trophies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're average, but yeah, they totally dropped the ball.
I think in this whole case, the only person who actually did anything correctly was the judge and jury.
Yeah, because there was no way they were letting this guy slide. There was no way. The police had let this mofo slide for years. And the thing is he was already in and out of the prison system. So it wasn't like he could just rape and kill and dispose of their bodies, because at this point, fingerprints, DNA, it was a thing. So I guess the next best thing was to keep them, but you got issues, because, I mean, my husband barely wants to deal with me alive. Could you imagine me dead? There ain't no motherfucking way he would want to deal with me alive, dead or alive.
No.
He's already got to deal with my 47 plus multiple personality.
I know. I feel it.
But I do agree with you. The judge and the jury did their job, did their part. Unfortunately, I don't think I would have let him die of a terminal illness. I think the families deserve justice at that point.
Right.
And should have watched him be put to death. But I also don't agree with putting somebody on death row for 15 years or 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
If you committed a crime without a shadow of a doubt and you were handed down the death sentence, 6 months to a year tops. That's it.
Exactly.
And even a year's pushing it, because if you're guilty without a shadow of a doubt, because there are innocent men and innocent females who do fall through the cracks. But this guy was caught red-handed. He shouldn't have got the die of terminal illness, being sought around with nurses at his every aid. He should have been.
My thing is with people like this, they are in a cell for 23 hours a day, pretty much protected.
Yeah.
I say put them in Gen Pop.
Right.
And let it be known what they did.
I mean,
that's my opinion, and my opinion's not for everybody.
No, I agree with the Gen Pop. I don't believe in there should be protection. If you're in jail, you did the crime, man the fuck up and
if you can take the lives of 11 people,
yeah,
then I feel you should have to fight for yours.
Every orange guy for himself.
Exactly. But
every man for himself.
Like I said, my opinion's not for everybody.
No, it's not for everybody, but victims deserve justice. And in this case, the victim's family deserved justice. Yeah, he went to prison. That should have been enough, but seeing the man take his last breath would have been more satisfying for the victims' families. Not being comfort care because you are dying. That's something that I just don't agree with.
Exactly, because after everything he did, he got to pass away peacefully.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they had plenty of drugs.
Because I'm sure they gave him
morphine, kept him comfortable.
and they kept him comfortable.
And he should have.
And
He
that
died
is
agonizing.
and he did not give that same courtesy to his victims.
No, he could have drugged them.
So why should he be why should he be able to get that courtesy?
I don't know. I don't know why the justice system works the way that it does.
Yeah, they definitely
And drop the ball for the victims' families.
Yes.
I agree. But that's going to be a wrap on today's YouTube PJ and Murder episode. Once again, I'm Cheyenne.
And I'm Heather.
Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. We are over on Spotify. If y'all could go over, download, rate us, show us some love so we can push out some more content. Also follow so you never miss an episode. That would be amazing. New episode Sunday. See y'all later.
Bye.
See you on the next saga.